This is the description of the new world that is experienced by Ashwapati. The last lines of the previous paragraph. He read from within the text of the without. The riddle grew plain and lost its catch obscure. A larger lustre lit the mighty page. A purpose mingled with the whims of time. A meaning met the stumbling pace of chance, and fate revealed a chain of seeing will. A conscious wideness filled the old dumb space. In the void he saw throned the Omniscience supreme. We read that last time, so I suppose you have gathered something. The experience to read from within the text of the without. The text of the without, as if the whole universe, the whole manifestation is a composition, something created by, written out by the divine, planned out and worked out by him. But to read from within what is on the outside, it means you have to enter into that experience. You see the experience from within, which is exactly how you should read anything. When you read a text, you see something. You read in the sense you see, or you read a book, or you see an event. We don't see only what is happening. We should see what is behind. What has made this happen? What is the consciousness? What is the play of forces that have created this event or manifestation? Then we don't jump to a sudden, quick conclusion. We see things only superficially. So this is no longer true for him. He sees the play of manifestation where there is the manifestation of darkness as well as of light. They seem to be opposed to one another. Now he sees that the opposition is not there. From within the darkness, there is the emergence of light. That means in the very heart of matter, in the very heart of unconsciousness, the preparation for a new creation is working itself out. So there is no opposition. Opposition belongs to the world of mind. When we say this is the opposite of that. But when we know that something is at work from within, the purpose of that thing is completely understood in a different way. There has to be a period of preparation. He says, life, the gestation of the golden child. Gestation is the period of preparation for a new manifestation. So things don't just happen. Something is working out within the consciousness, or within what we call unconsciousness. If consciousness is breaking out of unconsciousness, consciousness is already there, growing slowly, a little at a time, because in the world of time things happen gradually. So it works itself out progressively, but it is all there. It is for this manifestation of a new world that the previous world existed for so long. It is just like when we suffer, when there is something wrong, it is a kind of a realization that something is wrong. And that is the error. We have to remove that which causes the pain. What causes the pain is in us something that is not in harmony with the divine. And it is this disharmony. You realize it, otherwise you just accept it as it is. This is how it is. But we realize there is in me something that is in discord, in disharmony with the divine. And slowly we can grow out of that and manifest something new. So the riddle grew plain. Otherwise the riddle is, how can in the plan of the divine creation how can there be a world which seems undivine. There is one side of the truth which is divine, perfect, beautiful. The other side seems to be the opposite. And how to link them, how to find an understanding between the two. The catch obscure is the catch is where you work out the solution of the riddle. That if you accept, if we understand that there is an involved divine, there's a plunging down of the divine in the darkness, and because of that plunging down or involution of light in the darkness, slowly he prepares the base, the ground, and gradually out of the darkness, a little at a time, more and more consciousness emerges in evolution. Evolution cannot happen without involution. That is the whole thing. Otherwise it seems whimsical. This is the plan, the whims of time, which he talks of in the next line. He understands it's not something whimsical, it's not suddenly something is beautiful, then something is not beautiful. Something happens that makes us happy, and then something happens that makes us unhappy. No, there is no such thing. We have to learn to experience all things as a manifestation of the divine plan. A larger lustre, light. You see the larger lustre lit the mighty page. Page here refers to the manifestation. All forms of creation. And therefore, a meaning met the stumbling pace of chance. Otherwise, in our life, sometimes life is beautiful, sometimes not so beautiful. Sometimes you say, it is a chance happening. Today all went well. Then you say, no, today all did not go well. Why? We realize everything is a slow working out, a slow emergence of consciousness out of unconsciousness. But each thing has its own rhythm, has its own pattern, has its own energy that breaks out, you might say, much more happily, much more willingly, like a flower breaks out of a bud without complaints, because it has no ego, it has no opposition. Like man does not break out of his ignorance so easily. His ego has already grown. He thinks very highly of himself. So the breaking down of his ego will take a long time. The change is there. It will come eventually. But the struggle and the pain will be much more. Because man has already arrived at a certain stage of self-consciousness, self-awareness. And he thinks this is the whole reason why I am. I am like this, I have been made by the divine so that I can be a mental being. The mental being is just a temporary stage, it's a middle term. A flower doesn't ask to be a mental being. It doesn't doubt, it doesn't question. Its struggles, therefore, are not really... Maybe there is a struggle, naturally it breaks out of the bud, but without complaint, with simplicity. As we become more so-called wise, conscious, that simplicity is replaced by self-satisfaction, self-awareness. Therefore, a conscious wideness filled the old dumb space. The old dumb space is the world of inconscience. We realize that no, the whole universal play is created with a certain plan. The universe is a field of manifestation. And what was the original unconsciousness, the original darkness, is actually the home of the eternal light that is waiting to emerge, that may be sleeping, dormant, waiting for the right time. But the opposition between darkness and light, between ignorance and unconsciousness on the one side, consciousness on the other, is not there. This is therefore the perception of the new world. Now here, next we find that this experience that he has, he says, can it not be experienced by all? So he is not doing the yoga of his own evolution, he is doing the yoga of the earth. This is part of Savitri. The whole story of Savitri, the whole story of Ashwapati, the whole story of Savitri herself. All this is the yoga of the earth. The earth is the field, not just one individual. This individual contains in himself or in herself the entire aspiration of mankind. That is the purpose also. There are so many aspects to this book. A will, a hope immense, now seized his heart. And to discern the superhuman's form, he raised his eyes to unseen spiritual heights, aspiring to bring down a greater world. This here is the call is coming up, representative of the human aspiration. One individual who is in the front of the immemorial quest, the call of the earth to liberate her. We have that in the beginning of the poem, how the earth mother toils across the sands of time. The earth mother asks her children to liberate her, but her children have not as yet taken up that message to remove darkness. So she still struggles. So she is weary, but she is invincible. Earth will go on. It has been going on. Earth is not the field of destruction as well as we think it is. Pralaya, creation and dissolution. But if in this world of creation, which today to us seems temporary, because everything is in time and everything is born in time, everything is destroyed in time, but time too is a limb, an aspect of eternity. In the world of time, the divine is present. Out of this, if any spirit born in time can become the embodiment of the eternal, conscious embodiment, body embodiment, not aware, really incarnate the divine. This is why Sri Aurobindo and Mother have done the yoga. That physical embodiments had to become, they came down on earth to embody the new manifestation. It is not something to be experienced in some remote higher plane of consciousness, but in the cells of the body. So this is where the purpose of those who are the pathfinders, the Vedas also speak of the pathfinders, those who are ahead of the rest. They break old ground. It is necessary to have a past. The past is why the past is so that we break out of it and move on to a new stage. Life is a gradual unfolding. Consciousness is a continuous unfolding, slowly. This is what Ashwapati realizes, and which he will later in Book 3 recognize that on his own, by himself, he will not be able to bring down that power. Somebody else has to come. So he calls that power, you have to come. I have experienced it, but to make it happen, establish it on earth, I don't think I have that kind of, because he is consciousness, it is not yet force. That force is something he has realized she has. The divine force and consciousness. That is the mother's power, the consciousness which is also force. He has the consciousness. So, first of all, to discern, to be able to distinguish, to be able to see in the human the superhuman, the possibility of the future man, the golden being. He raised his eyes to unseen spiritual heights, aspiring to bring down a greater world. The glory he had glimpsed must be his home. His home, it must be really the level, the state in which it's a natural, normal state. It's not something which we perceive like a flash or a lightning, but it has to be established as something permanent. Like, his home is where we belong. This is what has to become the world. The world is not just realize that yes, someday something new, something beautiful will happen. This has been there in man's heart, man's spirit, always, to have heaven on earth, to have a wonderful future. All that is not enough. Earth has to change. Earth is matter. Matter is not going to be removed. Matter contains that light. It's always true. The gold is in the world of matter. Gold is consciousness, is the supreme. It is hidden in the mud. It is hidden in the waters of earth. So this sense of light, of the supreme consciousness, that is part of the lower creation, has to become obvious, manifest, by removing all the outer coverings of ignorance. A brighter, heavenlier sun must soon illume this dusk room, which is dark internal stair. Dark internal stair, you have the descent of the consciousness into the unconsciousness and the ascent of the unconsciousness out of the inconscious. It is an evolutionary consciousness. Like a staircase, it goes down, the same staircase goes up. So involution goes down. Because the involution goes down, evolution follows. It can go up. Man can plunge down, then he can come up. And you realize that I'm not falling down. Each fall is an opportunity to rise to a higher level. Because I fall, I know that yes, things are not right with me. And that's a message. This has to be replaced by a change in my nature. A consciousness has to, a greater consciousness has to replace my earlier state.
The dusk room refers to the body or the earth?
Then the world of not total dark. Dusk is not total darkness. This is the world of mind. When there is the mind and then below the mind the vital, below the vital the subconscious, all this is there. It doesn't include total and absolute refusal of light. When you go down to the utter lowest level, there seems to be a rejection of light, which is also present in us. If we go down, down, down deep in our nature, there are always parts that do not accept the divine. They do not believe. They say, no, I am like this. If there is a divine, he is far away, I can turn to him, I can call him, maybe I can worship him. But to become him, in my cells, in my body, in my nature, physical nature, that is not possible. It is this new possibility that is the fundamental aspect of Sri Aurobindo's yoga and the Mother's yoga. This is the yoga of realization. This is the task he has allotted to her when he told her, you have to fulfill our supramental yoga of realization. Because he was withdrawing. She said, I'm withdrawing, you have to continue. You have to fulfill it. She has to do the work, the hard work. This is the world of nature, manifestation on earth. She is that force of change. She is a power of conscious change. He is a force of silent consciousness. He is there, the light is there, but she has to bring it down and break down the opposition, because the opposition is huge. In us, the opposition is there in every particle of our nature. The attachment to our ignorance. We relate to ignorance much more easily than to light. Light blinds us. Too much light will dazzle us and blind us. Too much darkness makes us feel comfortable and goes to sleep. The consciousness goes to sleep. There is some connection with our physical responses with the world of light and darkness. We are not always comfortable with too much light. Outwardly, as well as inwardly, it is something that shakes us, disturbs us too much. Too much light is very disturbing, we can't bear it. So this is what he says, it has to change. You accept the weakness of the mortal embodiment of the mortal vessel. The vessel will break down with so much light, so much pressure of consciousness. So, the infant soul, why is it? The spirit is comfortable in its small nursery school. It gives you an image. It's as if we come down into the body in which the spirit is surrounded by so many layers of quiet, calm darkness. The consciousness has time, just like a seed plunging into the soil, stays for quite a long time, growing under the ground. It needs the darkness. It's our nursery school. Too much wisdom, too much, you might say, light of knowledge at the beginning of the spirit is not really very helpful, because the darkness provides the certain quiet peace. It doesn't push, it doesn't insist. Slowly from within, things grow. Like a bird grows within the egg, like a flower grows within the seed. There is always a need. So you see, there is a kind of a collaboration between darkness and light. So this darkness is a period of training, a school. Gradually we grow out of this. Mid objects meant for a lesson hardly learnt. Giving the image of the school, the child learns. Hard is often uses, it's a usage by Aurobindo, I suppose, with difficulty. Not just hardly learned means learnt nothing, but learned with hardship. Because man doesn't learn easily. He makes the same mistake over and over again. He learns through experiences, but he repeats the same error. Attachment, ego, preferences, desires, all these that really connect us with the world of manifestation in the vital, in the subconscious. Subconscious is very difficult to change. The subconscious the pull comes from the past. So I have grown out of the mud. The pull of the mud is very strong. I go back to that. I fall back in that state. It doesn't really, it is not as if I have learnt once, I've made a mistake once, I've learnt my lesson. No, we make mistake again. And there is a reason. When I make a mistake, I repeat the mistake. It's lesson hardly learnt. I repeat the mistake because perhaps my outer layers of consciousness are resisting the change. Matter is made of resistance as well. It is not a willing change. So, with objects meant for a lesson hardly learnt, the physical consciousness doesn't change easily. The vital consciousness doesn't change easily. The mind can be explained. This you should not do. This you should do. But the physical body does not accept it. Because it doesn't really relate so easily to wisdom, to consciousness. And the vital is so attached to its desires, it doesn't change either. So here he says, outgrow its early grammar of intellect. Intellect is our instrument of knowledge, we think. But grammar is not wisdom. Grammar teaches us how to arrange thought, arrange words, but it doesn't teach us how to create the thought. It's like a scaffolding. Grammar is like the scaffolding of a language, holds up the thought. You need to know, if you arrange your words in this way, the significance becomes clearer. But the significance is not given by grammar. So mind does not give us wisdom, it doesn't give us knowledge, it gives us how to organize our thoughts. Organize through the help of reason, and logic, and order, and clarity. All this is required in grammar, all this is required in our mind. But the truth that is behind what you want to arrange, behind every thought, there has to be some shred of truth. That mind does not give. Mind tells us, as Aurobindo tells us also, thus far I can help you, beyond this I can't. Reason says, this much I can help, after that I can't. After that you have to move on to another level. So reason is the helper, was the helper, reason is the bar. Don't rely too much on reason. Up to a point you have to. It gives to the mind a certain clarity, order, pattern, system, takes us out of our confusion, takes us out of all the, you might say, incapacity to discriminate, to judge. All those things are required. But what is going to replace it? Light. This has to be replaced by a direct connection with truth and light, which reason doesn't have. One of the few things that reason cannot give, experience. It cannot give experience. It can show how to open to the experience. That is a Raja Yoga. You clarify your mind, but it does not show you how to turn to the divine. The body can experience, the vital can experience, the heart can experience, the spirit can experience something, each in its own field. Mind cannot experience. Mind can explain and analyze and put things in their right places. These things are helpful, but that is again the same thing as grammar. Grammar uses a certain set of rules and laws. Otherwise, if you don't know grammar, you may catch the truth, but you don't know how to organize it. So it comes out confused and chaotic. So there is a certain help given by grammar, by intellect also. It deals with ideas. So we have to pass through the infant soul, who starts with the small nursery school of the body, the life. The soul grows as it lives in the body. Then it grows as it works its way through, expresses itself to the clarity of the mind, and then realizes that the mind does not have the absolute access to light. So outgrow its early grammar of intellect and its imitation of earth nature's art. This is the intellect. Art is method. Art is also science in a way. The art of learning, the art of living. It is how to do something. But mind gives us rules. It's an imitation. It doesn't show us the true guidance. The guide comes not from the mind. The guide is the spirit, the consciousness. We all try to give guidance if we are teachers. Teachers are not capable of giving any guidance unless they embody the truth. Often life is a better teacher because it shakes us from within, disturbs us. Mind puts before us things that you should not do, moral rules or all kinds of good, virtuous statements. But how? It's an imitation. I can tell you ought not to be like this, you ought not to do like this, but I am not myself an embodiment of that light. So it is an imitation of earth nature. To raise the human to the divine is, the human is the earth nature. And it's therefore, it's earthly dialect to God language change. You know, dialect is a distortion of the language. So he's using the same image of the intellect, the mind. In every language there are dialects, isn't it? In different parts. India has so many languages, official languages. I don't know, 22 or 24 or 20 something, official languages. But you take up Hindi or you take up Bengali or wherever, every village will have its own intonation, has its own accent, has its own choice of words. So we don't speak like this, we use this for this. So there is a kind of attachment to our own origins. We don't really change. Just like we are attached to our own origins of soil, of darkness, we don't change. The mind will tell us this, but I say, I can't do it. In my religion, or from my standpoint, these things are not said, these things are not done, these customs are not to be followed, all sorts of things. This is part of the lessons of life that we have, just like the dialect. Dialect is not the pure language proper. There is always a certain distortion born from the background, the level of development, or what is natural to the soil of that part. Even the enunciation, the pronunciation of words, they vary from part to part, so that in certain parts a man will speak in a way which a person will not be able to understand this. We don't speak like this. We don't use these words. I am not accustomed to hearing this kind of language. There is always a kind of an attachment to our background, our soil. Soil is really the ground. And we have grown out of that soil. We can't change. So this has to change into God language, the divine perfect language, which is why Sri Aurobindo's language is not easy to follow. There is no attachment to any particular dialect. There is no language that you say, oh, in Sri Aurobindo's English there is this kind of language which is typical of him. His language is of sublime quality. You have to give up all attachment to standard notions, fixed ideas, all the customs and habits of thought, because mind has its own habits also. All this has to go. So slowly man has to grow out of his smallness. And therefore all this has to be replaced by direct contact with the truth. If I become that knowledge, if I become that truth, then and only then do I know the truth. In living symbols, study reality. I study reality through his works. Even if I am a sincere, you might say, disciple of Sri Aurobindo, to the best of my ability I am reading his books. But I am not guru. We are reading Savitri, we are reading the Life Divine. To the best of your sincere ability you are doing it. But If there is one drop of true, genuine experience, it can recreate your being. It can remold the consciousness. You have to live the truth. You don't have to hear about it. You don't have to know about it. You have to live it. This is sometimes what we think. I sit and listen to some bhashan of somebody who talks very nicely. I don't have, but I hope you don't believe that. I don't. Because I don't believe I know anything. Because I have to live that. I don't give good advice, we have to live that. Living symbol. Living symbol means we become an expression. A symbol is an expression of a truth, always, of something much greater than the expression. Every symbol is an expression of something greater than the truth, of which we are talking. So if I say the divine, it is, for me, the symbol of the divine is the mother, is Aurobindo. It is a living embodiment. The divine is a vast, infinite word beyond my conception. I hold on to a form. That form for me connects me to the divine. We can find that. If I can experience that absoluteness, which you might say, relate to the word the divine. It's something perfect, absolute, beyond understanding, beyond time, beyond space. This is the divine. And I say, this is who she is, this is who he is. Sometimes you say, then why did Mother say this? Why did Sri Aurobindo do this? Why they did it, they know. I don't know. Why they said this? Why? And then sometimes she seems to say the opposite. So go and ask her. It's far beyond my understanding. That simplicity and humility we have to always understand. We have to live that experience. Until we live the experience, we keep quiet. We shut down judgment. We don't judge. We just have to experience. The ideal must be nature's common truth. Until then, we have a notion of something which is perfect. Ideal is a perfect conception. Idea comes from the word idea. It's a formation in the mind. If I can't explain or experience something, I have developed in my higher mind some concept. This is how the truth is. I may be wrong, but for the time being, this is all that helps me. So nature often proceeds by putting before herself some ideals, and then replace each ideal by another ideal once it has been achieved. Nature's truth, from the world of nature. I say, what is freedom? I don't know what is freedom, because I'm totally bound, I'm not free. So you realize, I try to realize what is bondage, what is slavery. Slavery to what? You have to be free from all attachments, free from all things that tie you down. That is the beginning of some connection with the word freedom. But that doesn't make us free. We have to remove all, we might say, connections with the world of error and imperfection. But for a very long time, the ideals that we put before ourselves become our guides. So for us today, the ideal of what is really an earthly life, the ideal earthly life should be a manifestation of the divine life. The human be replaced by all things beyond the human. Nature's common truth. All, because this is the world of evolution. What was yesterday has to be replaced by what will be tomorrow, something greater, something higher. The ideal must be nature's common truth. The body illumined with the indwelling God. This is not impossible because Deep within the world of matter, which is body, the hidden divine is present. Within our heart, behind the very core of our being, He is there. He's always there. But He is forgotten. He is neglected. To turn to that inner divine which is there in everyone, deep within, so that the outer nature feels illumination, a guidance. That is when one begins to live more consciously. To be attached to that source of light, the source of guidance, the presence of the grace. The grace is there, the divine love is always there. It has to be illumined by the indwelling God. The heart and mind feel one with all that is. A conscious soul live in a conscious world. This is the change required. This is the beginning of a new perception. Yes, my watch is not working. As through a mist, a sovereign peak is seen. He gives us a very beautiful image from physical nature. Just as there are, the aspiration of the earth is often symbolized by the mountain that climbs up to the heights. From the soil, from the earth, of the ground of rocks and stones, there is a mountain that goes up, and up, as if it is trying to reach the supreme heights. So high, sometimes it goes beyond the clouds. So there are mountains that are hidden, the peaks are not seen. You see the clouds, sometimes the cloud cover can break and you can see the topmost peak shining with light because the sun falls on the snow and it's golden. This is the magic of mountains. It goes so high that you have the sunshine. The sun is the symbol of the highest truth. The sun's light falls on the snow-covered peaks and there is a golden light that comes. So from this earthly formation, a mountain is after all an earthly formation, there is something growing out of the unconscious, rocks and stones, that touches the highest world of light and truth. And so, for instance, we have the image of, say, Shiva sitting on the mountain top. The divine presence is there on the highest heights. So that again symbolizes, it's a symbol that matter is really dominated and the home of the spirit. Not only is dominated, but is the home of the spirit. As through a mist, a sovereign peak, a highest peak is seen, but after you have broken out of the clouds of mind, the mist is the clouds of mind. If the mind is very, very active, it finds its own explanations, then that highest light is not seen. This is the problem of things like philosophy. Philosophy tries to give its own interpretations. It is not the realm of experience. Spirituality is experience. Right? Sadhana is experience. Philosophy is some kind of an interpretation of the truth. It is always, it depends on the intellect of the person who interprets. As through a mist a sovereign peak is seen, the greatness of the eternal spirit appeared. Even that kind of philosopher, his main interest is to try to know the ultimate truth. The purpose of philosophy, the word itself tells you, philosophia means love of truth. In philosophy there is a love of truth, but the one who expresses that love uses his own intellectual approach and gives his own understanding. There is some truth, always a little aspect of the truth is there, but it is not an experience. Sometimes that is replaced by a dazzling light. So the greatness of the eternal spirit appeared, exiled in a fragmented universe. That truth which is exiled because the peak seems to be cut off from the ground. It is shining, floating above the clouds. So there are certain beings who are on the heights. They seemed cut off from our everyday life, exiled from in a fragmented universe. We have said this is the lower creation, that is the higher creation. He has just told us there is no such thing. The universe is not fragmented. We see it as fragmented. The lower creation contains the highest possibilities. It is a circular creation. That's why in the Life Divine he describes the supramental as a circular consciousness. It's spherical. It's not linear. Mind is linear, so this is low, that is high. But in the highest consciousness, what is high is also in the low. But when you use the mental approach, you say, the highest heights, the gods, the divine is far away. He is brilliant, he is beautiful, he is magnificent, but he is near the sky. Swarga is up in heaven, not here. He is exiled from our earth. So amid half semblances of diviner things, half semblances of diviner things is our world. Things that are sometimes beautiful. As we evolve, we try to create expressions of greater beauty, greater light, greater knowledge, but they are all imperfect. It's a semblance. A semblance is a copy. This copy is always a copy. It's not an actual incarnation of the truth. So as we grow, our notion of what is divine, what is beautiful, what is wonderful, changes as we evolve. When we are very, very connected with the lower world, what we call wonderful is not the same as when we have risen in consciousness, and the sense of the marvelous and the sense of the divine has completely altered. You say, power is what the physical and the vital enjoy. That is really God, give me power, give me money, give me wealth. As you grow in consciousness, you realize perhaps power is an absence of wealth. What we consider wealth, to be quiet and undisturbed, when you do not have the support of external wealth, is the sense of great power. Where does the ascetic get his power from? He doesn't have anything, and yet he doesn't seem to lack anything. That power comes from somewhere else. So what we have, diviner things, changes as we change, as the consciousness changes. Today I have so much money, I have so much power, I can control this country, I can control that nation. You take a great sannyasi, he has nothing outwardly, and he doesn't seem to have been deprived of anything. He is not attached to anything. So these are all half semblances. That is not the highest experience, but still gradually we grow from the lesser to the greater. They are all half semblances of diviner things. All these ideals that we have, you give up the earth, give up the world, give up attachment to anything, slowly you turn towards the experience of the divine. This is what religion has taught. This is what the past yogas have taught. So these do not satisfy Ashwapati anymore. They have helped for a while. Not to be bound by any laws, any rules, any attachments, but these now could serve no more his regal turn. All the old ideals, old paths, are no longer he's not satisfied with these. Regal turn, he is like a sovereign. And the Supreme says, why should I be bound by any rules? I'm an embodiment of the Supreme. If I can, my consciousness is one with the highest. If my consciousness is one with the Supreme, nothing is small, nothing is great. Nothing, I don't fall into any categories of experience. I become a complete embodiment of light. So this is what Ashwapati wants, to make the earth free from all these different, you might say, compartments of knowledge and become a total embodiment of the truth. Okay?